throughout Kalipso. Kalipso is a powerful application. It can use various types of barcodes. It can read several kinds of barcodes. It also allows us to perform actions when a barcode is read, and so on. As long as if you don't do anything with it regarding the barcodes, we can simply read them as long as the reader is properly configured. There is one way where Kalipso simply works when reading barcodes. I'm going to explain you. I believe you are now seeing my screen, and I'm now going to create a new project here. Webinar about barcodes. Give it a name. I'm not going to explain in detail all these settings regarding the barcodes, but it will be self-explanatory. I'm going to choose here a theme. Let me choose this one, for instance, and select here a mobile device. This doesn't really. This is not very important when developing an application. It's just a way to have a screen area to display our controls. Normally, in the training sessions and the online videos, there are material where you can explore the settings in more details. I'm going to save it, creating here a new folder to store my project. The project will be created. Okay, now we have the designer ready to build the application. As you can see, we have several styles pre-configured to use it in our application. I'm going to create here a new form. Give it a name. Okay, something like this. Here we already have some objects resembling the one that is pictured here. Something like this. Now, in order to scan the barcodes, I'm just going to simply put here an input box, something like this. Now, to edit an object, I can also double click it, and here, along with all the properties of this object, we have this separator where the actions will go. The actions will go into events that are available depending on the control or the form that we are using at the moment. So here I'm just going to use this button to close the form. I'm going to double click it, and that's okay. So let's put it here. Now I'm going to explain how we can test it along with the application. Normally we test it on the simulator. I'm going to test it now. This will launch the framework inside that is installed in this computer. It's not emulating anything. It's just simply using the framework installed in this computer. So now we have here the input box where we can type it freely. When we click, this form will close. For this webinar, I'm going to test also on the Android device that I will be using, and also has an optical reader. To test on an actual device, the process is almost the same. I can test it here. and choose the type of the device. In this case, it's an Android. I already have it connected. I'm going to send the project to the device. I have it here. I'm going to already have the project here. We have here some barcodes, and now without doing anything, I'm just simply emulating a keyboard to read some barcodes. So simple as that. We can use this to read barcodes using the keyboard emulation. There are several methods of reading barcodes. One of them is this, which is using as a simple keyboard emulator. This normally is what is available by default with the devices. Of course, you can also control and enable or disable what is read by the barcode reader. To do that, in Kalipso, we have some actions. I'm going to go to this form, which is when I open the form. If I actually want to control what is read through the barcodes, I can simply go here and use the actions that are available here. This will actually connect directly to the reader. The Kalipso application will take control of what is read through the barcodes. But for that, we need to do some simple steps. First of all, we need to use the barcode connect, select the type of scanner that we are intending to connect. In this case, it's an internal scanner. From this moment on, everything that is read will be controlled by Kalipso, and in most cases, the keyboard emulation, the data wedge feature gets disabled in order to have a more refined control. When a barcoder, to enable the barcode reading, we will use the barcode enable action, and this will provide us some targets where whenever a barcode is scanned, those values will get stored in those places. In this case, we are using global variables that are available in Kalipso, and they, being global, they can be accessed from anywhere in the project. Normally, it's a good practice to save this type of reading in global resources like the barcodes. In using global variables, I'm also going to rename them. Something like this. This will be the data that is read, the actual barcode that is read, and this will be the type. We are also going to save it if we intend to use it. This will be the symbology. It's available. It will return an ID corresponding to the list here, representing the type of barcode. I'm going to save it. And in the end, when we close the form, we will need to disconnect from it and leave it available to other applications and so on. This is optional, but it's a good practice to have this action also here. So from now on, whenever we read something, the barcode will be read to this global variable. Now, whenever a barcode is read, Kalipso also triggers an event, which is the barcode scanned. It's not available here, but we can add it to be attended in this form or in a control if we wanted to do so. So I'm going to add the custom event, and here I could simply do something just to indicate what was read. So I'm going to here, barcode scanned. I'm going to add where was read, code data. Going to resemble here a simple message. Something like this. So now, if we test it, that is what will be happening whenever we scan a barcode. Okay, let's just use this. Something like this. Something like this. So basically, this is everything we need to do to know when scanning barcodes. So let's do something more with it. I'm going to create a simple local database. Kalipso can also connect to remote databases, but I'm going to simply use here a database to keep storing those red values. So I'm going to use it here. This database will be stored internally in the application. Barcodes and type, something like this. This will be numeric, something like that. No primary key, this is just for testing. And now, if I wanted to scan barcodes and present them on a table, I can simply drag it to this form, and using the wizard, I can create the table control. So the table is here. And now, whenever I scan a barcode, I'm going to go to the form actions again, to that event, and instead of displaying a message box, I will be adding a line to the table. Table add line. The barcode will be the global variable. We could do many other things like verifying, doing some verifications and so on. But for this example, and I will also insert it on the database. Like here. So here is the one simple thing that we could do. So let's test it again. I'm seeing that you are already sending some questions. Keep doing that. Then when I finish this presentation, João will collect those questions and make them in order for me to answer it properly. Okay. Meanwhile, if I try and answer it along the presentation, there won't be any need to do it uh, like that. So let's go again to our device. Let's go here. Let's scan some barcodes. All the barcodes will be read. So as you can see, we can do things like this and scan barcodes to a table. Here I am using this example just to show you how we can read the barcodes to a table. I could do many things more if I intended to do so. Another way to to read barcodes is using the smartphone camera. Whenever a device doesn't have an optical reader, Kalipso can also use the device camera in case of a smartphone or any other device like that. Kalipso can also use the camera. And for that, we have an action. I'm going to place it here on an icon. I'm going to search for it. It's here, barcode. Going to place it here. Another thing, as you can see, whenever I scan a barcode, even though I have the input active, nothing is read there. So the data wedge feature is disabled. Continue here with this icon. I'm going to place here on the icon events another action which is called the barcode scan. This will enable the device to basically act as a software trigger if the device if Kalipso application is already connected to the optical reader. So let's go here, barcode scan. Of course, since this is a user programmable action, the event won't get triggered. So I'm going to force the event to trigger. So I'm going to execute the barcode scans here, and it will use these values to use in that event. So if we test it again, so if we trigger something, we already have this. But if we place here, if we touch this icon, let's go here. So whenever we touch, the scanner is enabled, and without using the button, we can still scan barcodes. This can be useful when the device is not in proximity to the user, or whenever we need to automate the scanning process and we have some sensor that will trigger this action, and this can do some batch scanning and so on. The other use is what I said earlier, which is it can also use the camera to scan some barcodes. So I'm going to do that. I'm going here to emulate a device that doesn't have any scanner. I'm going to just simply comment these actions. From this moment, I won't be connected to the optical reader with the Kalipso application. And then if I use the scanner, this button, the barcode scan, here, if I use it, let me just go here. It will scan the barcode. As you can see, I'm going to scan it again. It will scan the barcode using the camera, along with its symbology, of course. Another thing regarding the barcodes, I'm going to enable back these actions and comment them. By the way, commenting and uncommenting actions, I'm using the shortcut keys Control V or the ones that are displayed here. Regarding the barcodes, there is also here these two actions, which are set enable symbologies and get enable symbologies. This will allow us to filter only, to make the scanner only read certain barcode types. For instance, if I wanted to only read QR codes, like those here, let me see, QR, the application will only read this type of barcode symbology. And I can use this action whenever I intend to read a certain type or not. And I can dynamically uh, read different types of symbologies according to the use case scenario. So I'm going to just save this. And this will save the hassle of going to each and every device and configure those symbology settings and going through those menus and so on. So if I want it, let's go back to the device. It only reads the barcode, the QR barcode. If I point anywhere but the barcode, it only reads this barcode. It only reads this barcode, which is a QR code. So this is another way that we can make the application only react to certain barcodes instead of reading what's default enabled in that device. Finally, we have apart from using this to defining symbologies, although we have these generic actions, we also have these manufacturer specific actions. Although they are all here, these ones are the common ones that are used throughout all these manufacturers. In fact, there are some manufacturers that have less actions than those displayed on these generic ones. In reality, these generic ones, when we use Barcode Connect, Kalipso will detect which supported manufacturer by Kalipso can be used in the application to that device, and we'll use them from that moment on. So in my case, I'm using a Zebra device. The Barcode Connect will try to see which of these actions can be used and use them from that moment on. Another aspect is that we have those actions here because in some cases there are some manufacturer specific actions that we can use to configure further those applications. But normally, in most of the cases, we just need to use these generic actions because they pretty much cover everything that we need to use when reading barcodes. And that's it, basically, when regarding barcodes. In Kalipso, this is the way that we normally these are the ways where Kalipso can be used to read barcodes. This process is very similar to the other process of using other type of devices in Kalipso. Basically, this includes 3 steps: connecting, doing something with it, enabling, and attending to an event, and in the end disconnect. The same concept applies to GPS, email, RFID, like in the previous webinars, uh, communications, and so on. So I think this is very simple. I will be happy to attend all your questions. Feel free to do that in the chat window. I'm going to give the word to João, and we will listen what you have to say to us.
Thank you very much, Rogério. I think we already have here a question. So basically, does the barcode reading depends of Wedge or similar app?
Barcode reading depends on. Let me see. I think João. Okay. Barcode reading. There is only one case where the barcode reading depends on another application, which is when we are using the camera to read barcodes. In fact, to use the camera to read barcodes either in Android or in Windows 10, we have here this option, Android Z-Zing mode. And although we don't need to install anything for that, Kalipso will use this library to perform the barcode readings. We don't need to have it installed in most ways, but for instance, if I wanted to use a specific Zixing app, I could install this Zixing app, and in this case, I would use this one. Let me see here if I can show you. Where is it? This one, Barcode Scanner Plus, and this will enable us to use the barcode reader, the camera. Let me just cancel it. Okay, I'm going to disable the connect. Comment this, and this will actually use this application. Some clients ask us why does the device needs to be placed in our horizontal to read barcodes. That's because the library by default uses the barcode in portrait mode. So I am going to show here this example. If I try to use now, I don't need to rotate the barcode. I can simply read them in portrait mode. I'm going to try and read something. This application normally needs to be configured, and this is using this external app. Normally, we depend pretty much on the scanning conditions and lights and so on, but this is how we are using an external application for that. Using the data wedge needs to be properly configured, and for that you need to go into the menus of that device in order to configure it properly. Anything else?
We have here another question, Rogério. If it's possible to set more than one symbology of barcode.
Yes. Although I only enable one symbology in specific, I can select all of them, or which ones that I would like to read, either from this list, or if I have IDs with a enter key, I could use them. In fact, I can give here an example. I just want to use these two, the first two, and before that I will get the symbologies that I currently read to a local variable, and then when I close the form I will restore the symbologies to that list that I read previously. Going to rename it. Something like this. So in this case, I enable only 2 symbologies, and before that, I will read the list that is currently enabled to restore them when I leave the application. Normally, this is a good practice. What you recommend to leave the device in the same state when we used our application, after we use application. So in those cases where Kalipso can change the system settings, this way we won't have any problem with that. After the application closes, it was in the state that it was before the application has started. So if we test it, okay, now we have the application ready, and now we read the barcode. Only these two types are read. Nothing else is read on this application. Of course, what I am explaining here, I'm using an Android 0 device, but the same concept, everything that I'm explaining here applies to the other platforms like Windows Mobile, Windows 10, and Windows CE. Of course, in iOS, we don't have any specific optical reader that is supported at the moment, but we can also use the camera to scan the barcodes like we are doing here.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rogério, for your explanation. We got here a question which is not really related with barcoding, more to some software that we used here, which is like which software did we use to share the screen of our smartphone?
The software that I'm using here is called the Visor. I'm just try to open it here. You can download it, and it's available online. Let me go here where I can. Of course, if you have this link, you can also see my device connected in real time because it's shared across the internet. But basically, this is what we are using at the moment to share the screen. It's called Visor. They have a free version and a paid version. The only difference is the quality settings and the limitations, and we can see the device without displaying any ads.
Great, thank you very much. Is there any other question? Please feel free to ask. We are here to do that, to answer to your questions. No, it looks like we don't have any more questions for the moment, Rogério. I would just like to thank you for being in this webinar. We will have other webinars happening, and you can always go in our website. Actually, you get into the menu and you see their webinars,